being able to pick that up. And both of them, I mean, between all of their appearances, able to put up some fantastic numbers. But look at that word consistently over Alex's profile. Finalist, finalist, finalist. Slight difference when you get to Pedro. Top 4 at Worlds, obviously the biggest event on the calendar. But then champion, champion, champion.
Yep, even a champion this year at a regional championship finds success so often at these major events. And if I didn't read it wrong, there were 10 top, or no, that was wrong. It was Torres who has 10. Pedro with a measly 6 top 8s at the International Championships. Still pretty incredible.
Yeah, a meager 6. That is up against Alex's 2 cuts as well. He did make top 8 at Latin America International Championships in 2018. But this is obviously, you know, his 2nd cut and his first time stepping into top 4. So once you get even closer, you should be able to try and close this one out. You've got to be feeling good about yourself. But the matchup can be a little bit tricky here. There's certainly some tricks and some traps in that Lost Zone box. Obviously had to make some evolutions when we moved through the rotation through the Scarlet and Violet set. But I think those rotations haven't really hurt the Lost Zone box. That you've still got 60 slots to fill in. You've still got some that are really established, you know, the Colress, the Comphase. Then you get to have a little bit of fun.
Yeah, and this is going to be one of the more interesting styles that we've seen so far. We've featured a lot of the Lost Zone decks that are playing that Radiant Greninja and trying to incorporate a little bit of sniping damage, maybe even that Kyogre at times from Celebrations that loves to throw damage onto the bench. This is not that style. This is going to be the Sablezard, as the people at home call it, and Sableye Radiant Charizard. That's really focused on reactivity, trying to make sure you have the right answer to all that your opponent can do. And that's interesting because on the other side, Alex is a pretty reactive deck as well. Just wants to have the right answer at the right time and make sure that he's focused on what his opponent is trying to do. So maybe a game of chicken here. Obviously, we'll see Arceus doing its thing, but I don't know who that favors just yet.
I mean, I think the gentleman on before us, Ross and Joe, summed it up. It's Arceus and some stuff. You really get to choose exactly what you want for the matchup. Being able to pull out the Duraludon VMAX, which of course can start slowing things down a little bit. In some matchups, I don't think it's as relevant in this one. You look at the ability and think, probably not the one we're looking for right now. But then, of course, you know, you've got the Alolan Vulpix in there as well. Radiant Gardevoir, which could be an interesting one, something we may touch on later, just to try and cause those problems. And even the Arceus here just becomes a very strong piece. So as the trainers get ready for the game, determining who goes first in game number 1, I think both trainers are going to have to maybe adapt their game plan as they go. As you said, the decks are reactive and have to think about it.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun one to watch. As obviously we've seen a lot of these Lost Zone decks. This is one that features 6 energies. So get ready for Cramorant, and then get ready for a lot of cards in the Lost Zone. Maybe we'll see that Sableye get in on the action, but it's going to take a lot of help from the friends in the discard pile. Maybe that Raihan, that Clara, and just continually using those same resources to try to steal some prize cards.
Well, it is, of course, going to be the mulligan for Alex there. Not able to get a basic there. It was, of course, the Duraludon V Max that he drew in the hand, so not able to immediately get one of those Pokemon out, and that is going to be an easier start for Pedro. Laying down the prizes. Mixed bag there. 2 Colresses could get a little bit annoying for him there, but I think as long as he gets one, finds the second one early, and potentially draws the next one, we'll be able to keep the ball rolling and push for those 10 cards in the Lost Zone to get the Sableye in play with the, you know, just spreading those damage counters around.
Yeah, we saw the 1 fire in the prize cards. There are only 2 right now, so if you can't find that one or maybe lose one early to the Lost Zone, could lose access to that Radiant Charizard, so something to keep in mind.
Yeah, it could be a tough one, but I think, you know, as long as you get the one you need, you'll be all right. And obviously, when that Radiant Charizard has its ability active, it is going to be a little bit easier to get that one going. Excited Heart would be able to help out, but it looks like Alex did find a Pokemon, and we're able to get the ball rolling here in our top 4 match. Nice safe start. Nice safe start. The Cramorant left in the active. It's going to be the Arceus V with the double turbo energy immediately, and the Duraludon V hitting the bench right away for Alex Schemanske as well. Has a much better hand here. Has some cards to keep things going in the next turn. Has another Duraludon V, but it's just going to be a simple pass after that double turbo energy. Of course, contact turn 1, so Trinity Charge just going to have to wait its turn.
Yeah, no complaints there. Found the double turbo energy. Considering the Duraludon, it's not exactly necessary at this stage of the game. There are some cards that Alex needs to be concerned about there. Escape Rope is one of those, so it's going to slow down you a little bit here. but eventually there is this Mill Tank. We see in the hand right now for Pedro. It's a card that Alex really doesn't have an answer to unless he finds that Duraludon V Max that can attack through it. We're also not going to see Pedro be able to bring this Mill Tank into play unless it's basically from the Raihan, as you need those 2 energies to attack, and there is no energy acceleration that you're going to see here.
No, it's one of those Lost Zone decks that kind of takes a couple turns to get rolling, not trying to go crazy early doors like some of the other builds we've seen over the course of the weekend, not relying on those turn 1 Mirage Gates to just start spreading out those damage. And no Mirage Gate at all means he's not going to get there. But the Escape Rope leaves the Duraludon V up in the active. He does get to Flower Select, takes the Radiant Charizard, keeping it for later, and getting rid of that Lost Vacuum. So he's up to 1 in the Lost Zone, and he follows it up nicely with a Nest Ball. So now he gets to go in, grab a basic, and slip that right onto the bench, and try and keep things going. Of course, has to be cautious about where he leaves things. I think the big thing here is, you know, you don't want to take that Duraludon V out of the active if you can. That would slow Alex down a lot. He doesn't have a lot of switching cards available, so maybe looking for something like the Switch card to keep the Flower Selectings going and keep that Lost Zone growing.
As much as you'd love to add cards to the Lost Zone, you have to be considerate of what your opponent is capable of. So going to see what is going on in the deck here, but it is that Comfey that was selected there off of the Nest Ball. And there is a Beach Court to go along with this, so we're going to see free retreat on that Comfey into another Flower Selecting, and potentially that will lead us to the supporter for the turn.
Yep, you want to see him dig for that Colress's Experiment. Obviously, there's a couple different ways he can get there, depending on what he can try and find in this one. But it's going to be a little bit harder, as you said, with 2 of those Colress's Experiment prized. Not going to be the easiest one to pull out, but at least you're looking at more cards. There comes the Beach Court, and it's going to be a quick retreat, I think, for the Comfey that's already used Flower Selecting. Not able to get out as easily as some, but definitely causing problems. So right there, the switch in the Comfey. Flower Selecting, he's got the marker down. 2 cards to take a look at. What's he got? It's another Nest Ball and the Fog Crystal.
Yeah, the Fog Crystal's a great way to continue to find some additional resources. It can be tricky to find the energies at the right time. This might not exactly be the turn that you're looking for that card, but it's about as good as Nest Ball in this situation. You're probably just looking for a Pokemon anyways. Yeah,
well, it's not going to be that he takes. He does decide to take the Nest Ball and keep that in the hand. The Fog Crystal heading to the Lost Zone. And now, as you said, digging for that Colress's Experiment. It's going to be a Pokegear 3.0. Let's see if he found it. I'm not seeing a Colress's Experiment in that hand. I'm seeing some Switch cards. I'm seeing some Clara, but I'm not seeing the Experiment.
Should have gone for the 4.0.
Yeah, that would have been a helpful, the more refined version. Even 3.1 might have got him there as well. Does also have access to the Raihan, obviously not particularly relevant right now, but could become important a little bit later. Not the turn 1 supporter you want at all, though.
Yeah, it doesn't really work. It is, of course, what you're looking for with a reactive deck, as you get these energies into the loss or into the discard pile. Eventually, you can bring them back and find some good resources to chain things together. But there's nothing going on right now.
Well, considering his discard pile is a Pokegear, a Nest Ball, I believe that's it. No Pokemon in there, no energy.
Oh, you don't like that?
I mean, I don't think it allows the Raihan to really, should we say, pop off in turn number 2. That is going to be the Mill Tank heading down onto the bench, though, trying to say early doors to Alex, I do have this. It isn't trapped in the prizes, and I am going to be able to block you out of the game with Miracle Body. Not going to be able to route yet, but maybe able to try and power that up a little bit later.
Yeah, route is a consideration when you're thinking about how much damage can be done. You got to limit your side of the bench for Alex. And he's he definitely thought about that, even as early as turn 1 when we saw the Duraludon being considered being benched there.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough one, but it's a Colress's Experiment over on the side for Alex Schemanske. So he gets to look at 5 cards, decide which 3 he keeps in the hand and which 2 he throws in the Lost Zone. It's going to be an Arceus V and a double Turbo Energy for him, and it looks like he's taken a basic Water Energy, a Judge as well.
And a Switch.
And a Switch, yeah. That is one of those very limited switching cards, though. Does have access to, I believe it's only 2 of them in the whole deck, which means there are some tricks that Pedro could get up to. Not going to talk about them until they become particularly relevant, but he did safely get that Arceus V back into the active and will now be able to start causing problems.
Yeah, there's a debate, I guess, here.
Yeah.
You could, of course, just go ahead and Power Edge, and that is going to be an early knockout here. Put the pressure on Pedro, as we've only seen 2 cards in the Lost Zone. Top decking a Battle VIP pass, and just has this Flower Selecting here. Of course, Raihan is there, but there's no energies to pull.
Yeah, these cards that he's drawing are decidedly suboptimal in this one. Not able to use the Raihan, unless he wants to bring back a Comfey, which I think would be less than useful, but nothing else in the discard to really be able to help him out there. No energy in there in particular, so really struggling on that one. The Nest Ball goes and grabs the Comfey. Speaking of suboptimal, yeah, drawing the Battle VIP pass, turn 2 is less than ideal for it, so Pedro just feels a little bit behind the pace as, you know, he's got all these quite low health Pokemon up, and if he's leaving Comfeys in the active, Alex is just going to keep taking those out.
Yeah, have you ever been beat up by an Arceus V? Not even the V-Star? It feels very bad. And sure enough, we see that, but there is that ever-important escape rope, and this is the issue with attacking early. You didn't get energies onto that Duraludon V, so now you are limited to one of those switch cards.
Well, he's still looking for supporters, and he's still not finding the supporter I believe he wants to keep those lost zones growing. It's going to be a Clara heading into the discard, and a Boss's Orders going into the hand. So, you know, could really try and find that stall late on, but can cause problems. Now we're at 4. It is time for Cramorant to come to the active, using the Beach Court to be able to retreat that Comfey for free and start getting some damage down. Lost Provisions is very much online, and he is going to be able to spit innocently for just 110 on the Duraludon V.
Yeah, lines up for the 2-hit knockout unless we see the Duraludon VMAX. Don't exactly want to commit that right now, as you've already got a damaged Pokemon that looks like it's going nowhere. It's going to be the Colress Experiment looking for some help, and does find it there with the Arceus V-Star as the 5th card.
Yeah, Arceus V-Star, I believe another Colress's Experiment going into the hand with the Choice Belt, and the Ultra Ball going back into the Lost Zone. So yeah, picking up all the pieces, and another Colress's Experiment, almost mocking Pedro, like, haha, you're the Lost Zone deck, but I have access to Colress's Experiment.
Yeah,
that said...
I'm keeping track of cards over here, and I don't even care.
Yeah, it's not even relevant to me. None of my Pokemon require it. That said, the Arceus V-Star is obviously evolved into, to get access to that Starbirth. A very quick flip of the V-Star marker means Alex can pick up that deck and find a couple cards to try and keep the ball rolling here.
Yeah, we'll see what the options are now. You could, of course, go for that escape rope and get this Duraludon V out of the active position. Maybe start to work in some knockouts with that Arceus V-Star on the other side, and then you can accelerate those energies too, which looks like a tricky spot to be in, as you don't really want to... Oh, of course, we got the Beach Court. You can just retreat this guy. He's little.
Yeah, he just goes and grabs a energy and retreats it back. So now 2 Duraludon V on the bench, one of them damaged. And Arceus V-Star easily able to knock out with the Trinity Nova. That Cramorant is gone, so all real damage threats are taken away here. And it's going to be an easy pickup of a couple energy, a metal, and a fighting over on that side as well. So powering up both these Duraludon V potentially very, very quickly. Pedro needs to try and find an answer pretty promptly.
Yeah, we see 4 in the Lost Zone right now. Flower selecting is going to be a big piece of this. Also have the Beach Court and the escape rope, so getting close to even getting there by way of flower selecting if we see one more Comfey, but it's not exactly how you want to play this bench out.
No, it's going to be a tough one here, as he's going to start off with the flower selecting before he does the switcheroo. Does finally find a Colress's Experiment, but it's next to that escape rope as well. And you know, a little bit tough to give that one up, but he does get it there. He does need to get more cards in the Lost Zone. Already has an escape rope in hand as well. Probably needs to keep things moving, otherwise he's going to start dropping prizes and dropping behind very, very quickly. Finally, on his 3rd attempt, gets to play a Colress's Experiment.
Yeah, we're working towards it right now. Of course, you need to get to 10 to see the Sableye have a big impact and start to deal some additional damage. And we are going to get to 7 now. No Mirage Gate to look for in this matchup, but maybe if we found an additional Cramorant, that would be a Pokemon that could work into the mix, and we could start to accumulate some damage on this side of the board.
Yeah, if he didn't need to Colress's Experiment, could have gone and got it with the Raihan as well, but not going to be an option, only 1 per turn, of course. So still struggling a little bit to get a foothold in this game, but at least he's growing the Lost Zone every single turn. That said, Alex's side of the board is looking pretty scary. A undamaged Duraludon V with 2 energy on it, a damaged one with 1 energy on it, and an Arceus V-Star with no damage on it, able to start, you know, causing problems and just consistently streaming those knockouts. As we go into another flower selecting, easiest choice of his life.
Yeah, we definitely like to see that. That's it's going to be a simple one. You can't play that card, so good. Go away.
That feels good when you flower selecting into that one, but it still leaves him at 8, so the Sableye, which we do see down on the bench, is not going to be active right now. Not going to be a big concern for him in this instance. Looks like we're just going to retreat for now, get that Comfey out of the way, pop the Miltank in there, and make sure you can try and buy yourself a little time, because right now there is nothing that can get through the Miracle Body unless you find that evolution.
Yes, just demanding to see the Duraludon VMAX. Sure enough, it is going to come into play here, and it's going to be able to take a knockout on this Miltank. Of course, this isn't the end of Miltank. We could see this Pokemon come back by way of Clara and potentially have a significant impact in this game. There is a little bit of a back and forth here, as Radiant Charizard is a great answer to the Duraludon VMAX. Yeah,
that would be a big swing to be able to try and get that one back, but I think there's still a little way to go. It's going to be another look in at the top 5 from the side of Alex Schemanske. Has been just streaming Colress's experiments this game, getting rid of an Alolan Vulpix V and an Alolan Vulpix V-Star, so not concerned about them in the matchup.
And then we see the multiple Drapion V also in the hand too. I don't think we need those either, but when your opponent doesn't play any ways to disrupt your hand, no need to excessively throw around your cards.
Yeah, G-Max Pulverization, 220 damage, more than enough to deal with that Miltank and the effect of the Miracle Body. Not going to be able to keep it around in that one. So Pedro is now down 3 prizes. Alex just being able to stream attackers in this game and keep things going. Taking a peep at the discard, maybe considering one of those supporters to see if he can get some help there. And of course, another flower selecting to get things going with, I believe, is it Fog Crystal and Nest Ball again? Yeah, so he's going for the Fog Crystal this time.
Yeah, so has the potential to look for an energy. I think if there was a way to pay for retreat, Pedro would have happily done that last turn, as getting the energy into the discard pile would lead to Raihan being available to potentially set up for a Radiant Charizard play, and we're just not seeing a way to get that energy there so far.
No, it's not getting into the discard. He does have one of the Psychic Energy in the hand. There's the Fog Crystal, being able to go in the deck, find a couple of options for himself, know exactly what he's going for. The basic Psychic Energy here, probably trying to open up some doors, like you say, for the Raihan a little bit later, if he can get himself in a good position to try and lock out the game a little bit. But Pedro probably needs to fire back with some prizes, see some of those cards that are locked away in there. And, you know, with just one more to go, one more flower selecting available too, and a Psychic Energy in hand, you've got to wonder when is Sableye's time to shine, because that Duraludon V on the bench looking rather juicy.
Yeah, we're getting very close at this stage of the game. 9 in the Lost Zone, just need one more. We've seen the flower selecting from the active. The Beach Court is likely to be used soon to help out, and we have to see something nice off of this flower selecting. I don't know if the switching effect is already in hand.
I don't know about that. He's been tearing through those a little bit. It's assuming Heavy Ball and Boss's orders. So, you know, not like he has Pokemon stuck in the prizes. He just has all his Colress's experiment in there, it seems. So that goes into the Lost Zone, and that makes 10. So Lost Mine is alive and well in this one. Running through the hand to see what he can grab. It's going to be another Pokegear 3.0. Looking at 7. Let's see if he can find a piece that he's looking for.
I'm going to go ahead and just update the dice count there. We did see gets us 10 now, and it is going to be the Roxanne added to the hand. So that is another card to potentially consider, as we see Alex is down to just 3 prizes.
Yeah, and Roxanne really limit Alex's hand. I mean, it's quite a sizable hand, but he has been just going with those Colress's experiment over and over. The Radiant Charizard takes to the field as well, but it's still going to be a little bit away of being able to play it the way it wants. As we see the energy attached onto the Sableye, do need a way to get that Comfey out of the active, though.
Just play cards.
Get it there. Yeah, just play a bunch of cards and see if you can get it out. I don't know if he's got it in there. I think that earlier escape rope that he was clinging onto is going to be a problem. And yeah, Roxanne at least allows him to see potentially a switch card or an escape rope.
Yeah, Pedro just looks through, says, well, I can go ahead and play the Pidgeot. It's one card that's out of my hand, and it also leads to the potential for the Force Sealstone to be a live top deck to help out here to potentially find that switching effect and bring the Sableye into the active, take that knockout on the Duraludon V, and start to work their way back in the prize exchange.
Yeah, and hopefully Alex draws very little. Obviously, he's only drawing 2 cards, but you do not want them to be 2 useful cards. It's going to be a Metal Energy and one that I didn't quite get a glimpse of.
Ultra Ball.
And the Ultra Ball, so not really what he needs in this instance. Oh. He's going to look through the 6. Does he have any way to get that out of the active?
They're almost arguably worse than the 11-card hand that he had to start with. There's just nothing going on there.
No, there's no way to get that out of the active, and he scoops up game 1. So Alex Schemanske only needed to take 3 prizes, but Pedro Torres never getting into this game. He's torturing himself a little bit there, looking at the next card. It was another beach court, and it wasn't going to be able to save you.
Yeah, I don't know if that's exactly indicative of how this matchup goes. It feels like we saw a pretty unlucky draw there from Pedro, trying to sort things out. Maybe if you see that opening Colress experiment, we're looking at a completely different game.
I mean, realistically, you'd expect the Lost Box deck to Colress's experiment more than the Arceus deck. That was not how this one went, and I think that kind of sums it up for me, is Alex was consistently getting things going, had his bench together with a couple options, had the energy spread all around, and had an answer to any of those nasty little Miltank plays where you do get caught out by that.
Yeah, there are so many ways for Pedro to open this game right back up if Alex ever falters at any of these points. And Pedro just needs to get set up to do that. He needs cards in the Lost Zone. He needs to be able to threaten with these small energy cost attackers. We see the Cramorant for 0, Sableye for 1, and then, of course, the Radiant Charizard and Miltank that occasionally get worked into the mix. If you can bring these attackers in at the right time, you're going to work your way right back in the prize exchange. Just wasn't able to happen this time around.
Yeah, wasn't even able to get much more damage down outside of that 110 from the Spit Innocently, and that is not what you want with this deck. Obviously, they're smaller amounts, but if you look after the pennies, Carl, the pounds look after themselves, and that's where he's able to find those knockouts.
Is that like $1? I don't know.
We are in London, so it's pounds and pennies. Thank you very much.
I've been using my card.
You're not even appreciative of our choice of currency. We are going to get a look at the hand of Alex. It looks like there's going to be a basic there. It's going to be basics for both. So no mulligans this game. You didn't think he had a Confe, did you? You thought it was Manaphy.
Well, I mean, it looked really bad, but there was a Battle VIP pass there for Pedro. So thankfully, a little bit of Pokemon to be played. But you probably want those escape ropes.
Yeah, he wants the escape ropes. Only one Colress's experiment in the discard. In the prizes this time. So maybe a little luckier when it comes to being able to get those cards in the Lost Zone to begin with. Alex putting in a couple of pieces there, but obviously has multiple copies of what he needs.
Ooh, this is probably the worst starter that we could see on Alex's side of the board here. That Radiant Gardevoir is the only Pokemon that could potentially get locked up by the Mawile here. It's the card that we weren't going to talk about until it revealed itself, but now that is definitely something to look for.
Yeah, Pedro's eyes lighting up at the prospect of being able to lock that one in and starting the game a little more lively than last time. The Battle VIP pass hitting that discard right when you need it on the first turn of the game, and now he's going to have a good look through the deck, see what he can grab, and keep the ball rolling with the pieces he may want. Only missing that whole Lucha, I believe, from the Pokemon count. So that was the only thing in the prizes, and able to grab 2 Pokemon, in this case the Confe, and anything else that could work for him. Could be, do you think it's too early to maybe go look for the Mawile?
Yes, I want to see at least a switch or an escape rope before I even consider going down that route there, because you have plenty of ways to just win this game outright anyways. If you are able to get these cards into the Lost Zone, start attacking with the Cramorant into some relevant Pokemon, those Vs on the other side of the board that eventually will come down, you can just play your style of Pokemon and not have to go for the cheeky plays.
Yeah, got a little bit of wiggle room as well, going first, being able to, this turn just flower selecting once, maybe twice, and then you've got an easy route to be able to use Lost Provisions to Spit Innocently in the following turn.
Well, it looks like we will see the double Comfey start there. The flower selecting likely to be the next choice, as Pedro's going to look to add a little more to this hand and potentially eye up some plays for next turn. he might not know that he's down all those escape ropes just yet. I don't know how thorough the search was.
He did go in the deck with the Battle VIP pass. Maybe didn't look like he was counting absolutely everything. So yeah, I think he must know. He knows. He's
good man.
Keeping a hold of that escape rope, which will be able to keep the ball rolling for him in this turn. But he must know that those are going to be few and far between. Going to have to pivot over to the switch carts before you know it. Escape rope into Comfey. He does have just one more remaining. It's going to be a Nest Ball and the Psychic Energy on this turn for that flower selecting choice.
Certainly something to think about there. We see a Nest Ball already in the hand, but maybe some additional Pokemon or just searching through the deck could be useful. But no, the energy is going to prove to be important here. It's obviously we saw that getting one into the discard pile can be very helpful early on. May even consider attaching this early. And think about the retreat lineup for next turn.
Yep, gets the second Cramorant down as well, so we'll at least be able to string a couple of those together early doors. Unlike last game where he landed one, it was immediately knocked out in response, and he wasn't able to get any more damage down for the rest of the game. So it's over to Alex. Does have that Radiant Gardevoir in the active, but immediately has a Nest Ball, so it's not going to be left on its own. Goes in immediately, no hesitation, grabbing an Arceus V.
Yeah, we know the name of the game here. It's get this guy into play. Eventually, you find Starbirth, and you can do just about whatever you want at that point. You can search out some of your great combos, any pieces that you need to keep the hand rolling, and you get to accelerate energies onto these incredible Pokemon here. Duraludon V being the choice here, as it's always important to have that answer to whatever may come, especially that Miracle Body.
Yeah, well, 2 Nest Balls, just as good a start. I mean, it's one more card, but at least it gets you 2 Pokemon on the bench at the end of the turn as well. When you talk about Arceus V, you managed to neglect the Power Edge for knockout. How dare you?
Oh, I'm going to discard that at every point I can because I don't exactly respect it just yet. I want to see cards, I want to see energies on Duraludon, and I want to avoid the triple boss's orders or whatever Pedro may have to stall for more time.
Yeah, that is understandable, but it's going to be a Judge as the first turn supporter for Alex Schemanske. So if Pedro was holding on to pieces that he needed in the following turn to make sure he got to that spit innocently, he's not going to have access to them right now. But there was a couple cards in hand that I don't think he was particularly impressed with. Drapion, for example. Not upset about that heading back into the deck.
Yeah, we don't exactly need to see that just yet.
Yeah, it's, I mean, not really going to be super prevalent in this one. So it looks like we're just deciding if we're cutting or tapping on this one. Making sure we talk through all of the turns on here. And there we go, start drawing up.
It looks like a busted sleeve was the issue there, so just gonna make sure to replace that with a card in the discard pile, save us a little bit of time. And if we get to finals, we'll buy him a new pack of sleeves, I promise.
Just one, though. You've got to be careful with them.
Yeah, we know your tricks, Alex. You're just here to get new sleeves.
Yeah, it's not like the Nest Ball is going to be going back in and being reused later, so it doesn't really matter. I think there'll be a little bit of time to sort that out, but everything in order. Another Arceus V hitting the bench, and that Judge has certainly been interesting. Not left in with much. I believe it's another Ultra Ball. Arceus V Star, obviously helpful for next turn, then another Ultra Ball after that.
Oh, no.
That is a shocking Judge for Pedro.
Yeah, we need flower selecting to be great. That is not great. That is ways to find a basic Pokemon and a Fire Energy, one of your 2.
Yeah, and that Fire Energy is something you need to be careful with. I mean, it could help to get it in the discard, maybe allow on those big Radiant Charizard plays that you were talking about a little bit earlier in the game, but this is a tough choice because neither of them are really, can you get rid of both?
I mean, we like cards in the Lost Zone, but this is getting ridiculous here. It's going to be the Fire Energy that's held on to. This retreat could have been prepped last turn. Instead, now it's going to be used here. And we will see Flower Selecting try to maybe find a way to switch.
Ooh.
Like a cart.
Yeah, Manaphy, an easy choice here. As Switch Cart hits the hand as the Lost Zone hits 4. So that Cramorant will be able to get up into the active and use Lost Provisions to spit innocently. The Miltank also taking to the bench in this one. But that Judge was absolutely brutal for Pedro, sitting on, I believe, both his Sableye and some energy.
Yeah, I don't even know if I really like the spit innocently here on the Radiant and Gardevoir. It's not exactly a threat that you'd need to deal with, but at this point, I think you're just thinking about prize cards as well. If I can get out of this mess, even by drawing into a good prize card that might be a Culver's Experiment or a Pokegear, anything at this point, potentially I have a way to draw out of this mess.
Yeah, it would help you out, and of course, would be very, very low, easy to pick up with something like that Sableye later on as well. So could be one of those big turns where you take a couple prizes using that Lost Mine very, very diligently. Just needs 2 more damage counters on it to be able to solve that conundrum.
Yeah, that's a great point, as the math could line up with a V or V-Star knockout, that Radiant Gardevoir being knocked out, and then the Duraludon V-Max from the Radiant Charizard. So I do like that.
Yeah, so while the judge wasn't too kind to Alex, he did get the Arceus V-Star, which means an immediate star berth and finds him cards that he does like. Doesn't have to rely off just the 4 from the judge.
I'm so used to single-strike mustard right here, so I'm now looking, research is pretty good. No high five, unfortunately.
Yeah, was able to switch that Arceus V-Star in, being able to get that up to the front, and of course start using the Trinity Nova. There's the energy that he needs to get to the 3rd one. It's going to be a knockout and a bunch of energy heading on to his bench as well. As Cramorant goes down, once again, Alex Schemanske takes the first prize in this matchup.
Yeah, why Power Edge when you can Trinity Nova? This is so much better. You can see those energies accelerated to this Pokemon, and now we've got a relevant threat on both sides of Alex's board here. Is he's got that big Pokemon in the active spot that needs to be dealt with, but the Duraludon VMAX can always work its way through the Miltank.
Yeah, the Duraludon VMAX can't be stalled out that easily, is just able to work through that Miracle Body with ease. And now, I mean, you've got an Arceus V-Star up there in the active as well, where, you know, it's going to be able to take a hit or two very, very easily from the small amounts of damage that Pedro is putting down. He does take a Duraludon V off the prizes, but he's already got the VMAX set up, so got to be feeling pretty good about that one.
Well, we need to see a big turn here from Pedro. It's not like he exactly needs to deal a ton of damage at this point, just needs to get cards into the Lost Zone. That is not going to do it. A Battle VIP Pass is added, Pidgeot V into the hand, and there's not even a switch card right now to work back to the flower selecting. It would just have to be the retreat for the turn, and then you potentially miss out on the damage from Cramorant.
Yeah, this is going to be a real tough one, relying on a huge flower selecting here to bail him out of this situation, as the Clara just not able to do anything. These are shocking flower selectings. The Drapion an easy throwaway, but what's the Nest Ball going to get him that's going to be able to help him at all? 6, you're still quite the distance away, and once again, this is a few turns in. I haven't seen a Chorus's Experiment from Pedro.
Yeah, this is absolutely demoralizing here. There's not much that you can do at this stage. Continue to find basic Pokemon, help potentially just to thin out, and maybe find a better draw. Clara can grab the Cramorant back, and we can think about that for future turns, but that's going to be the end of this turn. We've already seen the energy, the retreat, and I don't see any other usable cards now.
Yeah, not able to get out of that one, and you can't even throw up that Miltank because it's just going to be an easy switcheroo over to the side of the Duraludon VMAX and just start causing problems that way. You can't even switch to it because you don't have any switch cards.
Well, I guess, forgive me, I guess we do have the energy for the turn now, and it's going to go to the bench here.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. No,
okay,
you can't.
Good. I'm like, I thought I saw that.
No, don't forget, he put that fire energy down, retreated, doesn't have the beach court this time, right?
Yes.
So really struggling in this one and not able to prep, as you said, the energy for the retreat. So this is looking real rough. Switching cards are a premium for Pedro right now, and it's an easy mistake to just roll back as Alex catches that one immediately.
Well, for Alex, that is great news to see only 6 cards in the Lost Zone, an easy knockout lined up, and potentially you could just use this boss's orders this turn to target some additional threats. I don't know if you really have to at this stage, and yeah, it's just going to take out the Comfey. It's the only Pokemon that's really helping Pedro find a win condition because you need those cards in the Lost Zone.
Yeah, and I mean, 6 is definitely less than 10, so still not there for the Sableye, which has been sitting in the hand since that early game judge. Throws up another Comfey, and now finally gets to see some cards. Chorus's Experiment, looking at the top 5, and putting 3 of them in the hand, putting 2 in the Lost Zone. It's going to get him to 8, but it's still a little bit too shy. He's got a lot of options in there. I do see the Forest Seal Stone, but I mean, I don't know how much value he can get off this one. He's going to mull this one over. Does have the Pidgeot if he wants to keep looking at cards, so could slip that down, could obviously get the Forest Seal Stone going, but it's going to be the Fog Crystal and the Lost Vacuum heading into the Lost Zone for 8 in there. Going to have a flower selecting. There's still going to be 1 shy right now of the 10 needed to activate the Sableye. Easy choice, and he does get into the beach court as well.
Yeah, the Lost Vacuum is a very confident throw into the Lost Zone, as that easily could have been the 10th card there, seeing the Forest Seal Stone added to the hand along with that Pidgeot. So must believe that there's going to be a 10th card added there now, and this should likely be a turn for the Sableye. It is interesting where you place the damage in a matchup like this, because there is Schemanske on the other side, I believe. So when you place this damage on one of these colorless Pokemon, could just be brought right back up into the hand, and then you lose all of the power that you had by placing that down.
Yeah, any momentum you build up by trying to put down little bits of damage onto those Arceus V, I think it's going to be so easy to remove with the Schemanske. So probably has to be a bit more diligent, probably has to try and start building it up on the Duraludon, but it's not going to make life easy in this one. The Beach Court has hit the bench, or hit the field of play, as there we see the retreat being marked, I believe, by Pedro, but throwing up the Miltank in this instance. Like you say, it was a very confident discard of the Lost Vacuum, but must be feeling that he can still find a way in this turn.
Yet held on to the Psychic Energy, which we already saw a few of. Now is going to prep the retreat and try to bring that Duraludon VMAX into the active, I suppose, using the Miltank as a little bit of bait. This is, if you want to knock this out and get a prize card, you either need to use a boss's orders, or you're going to have to take me out this way. And Lost City boss's orders, oh boy.
Yeah, this is about to look rough, as that Sableye that he put down does get drawn up to the front. The Ultra Ball will come through for Alex Schemanske, discarding an Arceus V and a Duraludon V, and leveling that up, evolving it into an Arceus V-Star. The second one already fully powered. Pedro just taking a little peek at the discard, maybe trying to figure out what's going on with some of those switching options. But right now, Alex Schemanske absolutely in the driving seat once again. Arceus V targeting something it can hit. No Miracle Body on the Sableye, just going to be able to cause problems that way. And that Sableye isn't going in the discard, can't be rescued. Sableye itself will be the 10th Pokemon, so Lost Mine is online, but it's not in the right place.
That is so disrespectful. Says, you know what, you didn't get there fast enough, I'm going to help you out. And gives you the 10th card in the Lost Zone, and it's the Sableye itself.
That is a rough one, but a Roxanne in the hand. Now Alex is down to 3, that could be massive. There is another Sableye available for him as well, so would have to be quite diligent about this turn to get there. And the Confei was prepped, so here comes the Nest Ball, being able to go in and find a basic as well. Start setting up for a little bit later, but we'll have to be very, very cautious with this one Sableye, because the Lost City, you know, once those are both gone, that's really all your damage for the end game outside of that Radiant Charizard taken away.
Well, we'll see what the decision is now for Pedro. Going to go with that Confei for additional flower selecting. But is there a big turn that you can make here? As we see the energy on the Confei, that could easily go to the discard pile. At some point, we could see some acceleration by way of Raihan to help make up for the fact that this Miltank or a potential Radiant Charizard aren't currently able to attack.
Yep, well, we're up to 11 in the Lost Zone now. The Confei getting another flower selecting, seeing a couple more cards, one of which is the Colress's Experiment. Feels a little bit late for that. You have hit the 10, and you've got to be considering that Roxanne quite seriously to be able to slow Alex down. That said, look at his board. Everything is powered up. 2 Arceus V-Star, 1 Duraludon V-Max, and even a Radiant Gardevoir helped out. Let's see what
Alex immediately grabs the discard piles. Did I use any of those switching cards? I'm not ready for the tempting trap.
Yep. Let's see it. The Mawile has finally landed on the field here. Has got the energy on there. Pidgeot V hitting the bench, getting that Forest Seal Stone as well, and immediately being used for Pedro to find a card in there. See if he can try and stall out some of this game with the tempting trap. No retreat available after that one. So yep, you've prepped the Radiant Gardevoir, but it's not going to be allowed to do it unless you have one of the one switch or the one escape rope that Alex has access to.
Yep, going to try to buy a little time here now. Can lock this Pokemon in the active by using that boss's orders that was found off the Forest Seal Stone. And we'll see if maybe that's going to be enough here to help out. Maybe Alex prized them. Who knows?
Yeah.
We haven't seen these switch cards yet.
You never know, but we know that they are not in the discard right now. So Alex getting a little bit of breathing room, a little bit of respite in this one. He is going to discard that energy to be able to retreat, and then, of course, just needs to make sure he grabs something that cannot leave that easily, something that also can't go crazy with its attacking. So Radiant Gardevoir coming up to the active, thanks to that bossing orders. Tempting Trap. Now, Alex desperately needs to find a way out of this. It doesn't look like he's seen it that way.
Top deck to Culver's Experiment. It's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Ooh, it's going to be 5 cards with no way to switch out in this one. So a bunch of supporters to be able to help out, but it's not going to help him out on this turn. We know what Pedro has in his hand as well for the supporter to follow it up with. Could be absolutely massive when he's able to make that play, but you do have to be careful, right? If you want to keep him stuck here for as long as possible and see what you can do. He's going to go with the Culver's Experiment instead, just to keep drawing up some cards and maybe, you know, let him get close to the switching card and then Roxanne.
Yeah, you can always set that up and potentially buy yourself a little more time here. Put Alex on a pretty bad hand, and we could honestly see Pedro start to charge up attackers, which is something you don't usually get time for. But we have the Radiant Charizard that certainly could be in the mix soon enough.
Now Pedro playing a long game here, going with very much big brain strategy, understanding the niche of the deck and where Alex's may fall short. You're talking about charging up attackers, and it's going to be the mill tank getting an energy there, being able to cause problems on that one. And once again, you know, now the Radiant Gardevoir's in the active. No retreat. Alex is just going to look at one card at a time and see if it's one of the ones he needs.
Do you do switch stuff? No. Okay, bye.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you switch? Are you escape rope? No, thank you.
Well, it really is going to be interesting to see when Pedro decides to break this lock right now. Alex is so confident on the other side, just looks at one card, I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, really not much you can do about this one, right? He needs to wait until he hits escape rope, wait till he hits switch, and then be able to get himself out of that predicament. As the Lost City's now gone, the beach court, so tempting. You want to retreat, but you just can't. He's made it easier for you,
yeah,
but you're not allowed.
This is a beautiful mark of disrespect right back for the Sableye into the Lost Zone play that we saw. Was, oh, you want to retreat, do you? Whoa! Ooh. That's how you retreat.
Yep, that's one of them that will definitely do it. The Lost City going into the active and escape rope being played down.
Boss's orders in the hand too. You can just get this Pokemon and take it out permanently, avoid any of these issues altogether. We'll see which is the ultimate threat, and he's, yeah, you're not locking me up. Get out of here.
Yep, the Lost City combo coming through there, being able to get rid of this Mawile and its psychic energy into the discard. That was not long enough on the lock for Pedro there. I think he wanted to keep that one going significantly longer, as Alex's deck is rather thin, running out of cards there, but he's not going to be able to use that line. And as Alex drops to just 2 prizes, Pedro desperately needs to find an answer here.
Yeah, this almost has to be Radiant Charizard boss knocking out a Duraludon VMAX at this point. And instead it's going to be Pidgeot, you have high hit points. Please stick around for a little while.
Yeah, Pidgeot going up to get an energy, but it's not like it's going to be able to start causing problems. He's going to play the escape rope, get that Arceus V into the active, and it does have enough to be able to cling on for a little bit, but a quick retreat there into the Duraludon, and that's the game. Alex Schemanske able to get out of that active, wasn't locked down, taking down the Pidgeot V for the last 2 prizes of the game. And even though we saw the cheeky play, we saw the Mawile with the tempting trap, it just wasn't tempting enough for Alex Schemanske as he finds the escape rope, gets out of it, and the game falls apart with that Lost City as well.
Yep, escaping the trap there with the top deck rope. It took 5 turns, but you know what? That's all you need. And sure enough, that's going to be enough to catapult Alex Schemanske into the finals here of the European International Championship with a huge opportunity, not only to be crowned a champion, but to break the curse, it seems. And we would definitely love to see that for him.
Yeah, Alex Schemanske has made it so close so many times, and given another opportunity, another bite of the cherry to be able to get that big win that he's been craving so long, break where it says finalist, finalist, finalist on those achievements, and be able to take a big win. He's already knocked out 1 former international champion, and is probably going to have a very tough route to do it. We're just guaranteed a fantastic finals tomorrow with 50%, 1 member of that top table already already confirmed.
Yeah, knocking out a national champion to get into the top 4, takes down an international champion to get here into the finals now, and who knows what's going to be left for him on the other side of the table. Well, I guess you will, as we're eventually going to get there with the top 4B match. That's right, we are going to feature both games here in the top 4. Very exciting for us, and I'm excited to see what's going to be on the other side of the table for Arceus Pyle.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be an interesting one. Obviously, most people expecting to see something a little bit new come through, but Arceus has been sticking around. It's a deck that a lot of people know, and obviously being able to throw energy all over the place seems really good in a lot of these matchups, so wasn't even able to get slowed down by that Mawile.
Yeah, it's you can see how it could eventually work, and of course the strategy all lines up there for Pedro. He's trying to work in that big Radiant Charizard knockout on the Duraludon VMAX. There wasn't another Duraludon VMAX, and then the Miracle Body of the Miltank could just beat every Pokemon on the other side of the board. It's just never lined up. We didn't see energies. We didn't see Colress Experiment. We saw nothing. We saw Trap, but that's not going to do it.
We saw a Colress Experiment, but it was